Hello and welcome to another edition of Motor Cars Enthusiast. Right off the bat in today's show, the Datsun Go. Datsun is actually making its triumphant return. It's going to be sold in emerging markets around the world. Nissan bringing back the old Datsun franchise. Many of you may be able to remember. Datsun's being sold around where you live. Well, Datsun returns, like I said, with the new Go. Now, this vehicle is a little bit sparse as far as the amenities are concerned when this comes car, but again, this car is going to be sold in emerging markets. Now, it does come with a 1.2-liter four-cylinder, and it's mated to a 5-speed manual transmission. The vehicle will be pretty inexpensive as far as pricing is concerned. It will be selling for $6,700 US. Pretty nice piece of kit, and it will be coming soon, like I said, in emerging markets around the world. Next up on the list, Consumer Reports is going to let out a report actually in August of 2013. We're getting some preliminary, at least, little information come out about this. Found this on Autoline.tv. But this particular setup, they're talking about the EPA numbers may be extremely difficult to get in the real world. EPA numbers being the actual fuel economy standards that are set up by the EPA for each automobile here in the United States. And one of the biggest offenders for not being able to hit the real numbers in the real world, EPA numbers that is, are hybrids. Supposedly 55% of all hybrids can't hit the EPA fuel economy numbers. And they're missing it by upwards of 10% as well. Now, the other market, at least having a hard time hitting their numbers as well, are the small displacement turbocharged engines. Obviously, these vehicles have a little bit of an issue anyway, where automobiles that actually have problems as far as the manufacturers know what the EPA does and they know how to skirt around some of the issues, and usually the turbocharger's never spooled up when it comes to making its fuel economy run, which means that the customer gets it and he gets addicted to that turbo feeling, so you're always spooling the turbo up all the time, which makes your fuel economy numbers go down. But compared to even the hybrids, Consumer Reports is talking about 28% of all small displacement turbos can't hit their fuel economy numbers. And when it comes to the standard automobile or conventional automobile, 10% of all those automobiles can't hit their EPA numbers as well. We'll get official details coming out in August of 2013, and we may be able to break those down a little bit better coming soon. Next up on the list, the McLaren P1's in the news again. The P1 has actually just been selling. That's what I love so much about the automobile industry, is it moves dang fast. The P1's barely got off the ground as far as selling automobiles. I don't even know how many McLarens actually build as of now. But there's a new vehicle. Vehicle's been seen pounding around the Nürburgring Nordschleife loop, and it comes with a different insignia, which has got everybody all in a fluster about what this means. The insignia is XP2R. Now, a lot of people think, this photo, at least thanks to world car fans, they're thinking that this thing could be a hot rod version. A hot rod version? A higher end version of the McLaren P1? Let's take a look at what the P1 does right off the bat. If you don't already know, it has a hybrid drivetrain. Now, between the hybrid drivetrain and the 3.8-liter twin turbocharged V8, they put out a total of 903 brake horsepower and 1,100 pounds-feet of torque. So if we're going to get a higher-end version with more power, sweet mercy. Can't wait to see what this thing's going to be about. So we'll see. This may be just a smokescreen McLaren's been putting out, maybe just trying to show off something else, testing something else, but they want everybody to think that maybe something else is going on. And when it comes to automobile journalists, they tend to fly off in all sorts of different directions when it comes to this type of thing. Next up on the list, the Fast and Furious franchise is back in the news, as actually you can go to the Fast and Furious website and flip on over to their Facebook page, and you get to vote on where the next Fast and Furious, the Fast and Furious 7, will be taking place. Now, we've already seen it happen in Japan, also a bunch of times in the United States. I think it's been in Mexico and Brazil. So where do you think the Fast and Furious franchise... Actually, some of it went through Europe, didn't it? Then the Fast and Furious 6, I think, did. Went through a bunch of pieces of Europe, Turkey, and whatnot. So we'll see where this place ends up next. But you get to make your voice heard, and you better get to it quickly because this movie is supposed to be out in mid-year of 2014. Next up on the list, Gran Turismo, the video game's in the news as well, has actually let loose a couple of brand new facilities that you get to race your automobile around. One of them being the streets of Willow or Willow Springs Raceway. You see these a lot in automobile videos. It must be fairly inexpensive to rent this particular facility, but not super excited about racing the streets of Willow. But what I am is this, an actual screenshot from Gran Turismo 6, and if you were at the Goodwood Festival of Speed, you could have tried this out. Yes, you too can run up Lord March's driveway, if you will. You can go up the Goodwood Hill and all sorts of awesome automobilia. So, cannot wait to get my chance at the Goodwood Hill. And it'll be coming out, Gran Turismo 6 will be coming out mid-November of 2013. Next up on the list, speaking of Goodwood, speaking of a hill climb, this is the Pikes Peak World Record automobile, the Peugeot 208 T16, driven by many-time World Rally champion, in fact, probably one of the greatest World Rally drivers of all time, Sebastian Loeb. Loeb took his shot at the Pikes Peak hill climb, and he ran a time of 8 minutes and 13.878 seconds, which beat the record by a fair amount. The old record was 9 minutes, 36.164 seconds, by a full minute. Now, this particular automobile only weighs 1,930 pounds and has a 3.2-liter twin-turbocharged V6, putting out 875 brake horsepower. And speaking of another hill climb, it was the fastest at the Goodwood Festival of Speed this year. This particular automobile, in the hands of another driver, actual Peugeot's test driver, actually ran up the hill in a lap of 45.86 seconds up the Goodwood Hill. And if you're thinking, what is the fastest to ever go up the Goodwood Hill? Well, it's this particular automobile, an actual McLaren Grand Prix car driven by German Nick Heidfeld. Back in 1999, Heidfeld went up the hill in 41.60 seconds. So, obviously, the Peugeot actually did it a little over 4 seconds slower, but not too shabby when going up against the Grand Prix cars from the mighty V10 era. Next up on the list, the Peterson Museum is in the news, as they're actually going to let loose of some of their automobiles. If you've been hankering to buy a museum piece, 64 automobiles are going to be sold at auction in California sometime this year. Now, we're going to know a little bit more as the Pebble Beach Concours d'Elegance on August 18th of 2013. Peterson Museum is going to show off some of these automobiles that's going to be up for auction very soon. Now, obviously, they're not going to sell the best of the best stuff, but you can buy some of the duplicates of some of the other automobiles that they have there at the museum. And that's all there was that I thought was worth talking about for this week's Motor Cars Enthusiasts. If you want to jump down to the Facebook page, the link's down in the show notes. You can go over there and like us over there and check out what we do. Update that page every day. Also, you can subscribe to the channel and get the first dibs on the brand new shows as soon as they come out. Thanks for watching. We'll see you again real soon.